Welcome back to Over the Wall. I'm not talking baseball. We've been off for a week. This guy next to me has been kind of busy. We won't talk about how great the Red Sox are doing right now because that'd be a lot of
We
fun.
don't need to talk about that.
We talked about NFL play and NBA playoffs. I was wrong. The Raptors did not sweep. The 76ers did not sweep the Raptors, but I still don't think the Raptors are going to beat the 76ers. Devin
You never
Booker is now
know.
out with a hamstring, so who knows what the Suns are going to do. The Celtics rise to the top and be the only team to be able to sweep a team, so they're superior.
And the
Sorry,
Bulls won a game. The
and
Bulls
the
won a
Bulls
game.
won one game. And now, yeah. But we're talking the NFL draft. And I've brought on Scully that plays with the mock drafts, has a lot of fun with it, sits there on draft night, excited to see who takes who. And it'd be a really boring show if I created my mock draft because you know those people you pick in fantasy, they just read off the top players and just draft. That'd be me. Instead, I brought a guy from Massachusetts, a guy that knows his stuff. It's Lucas Schobach. Lucas Schobach, talking NFL draft. You two tell me, Lucas, what makes the draft so much fun for you?
It's just kind of a giant nerd convention of trying to understand minuscule pieces of information and then kind of compile them together to create your own mock draft. I also have like a weird competitive streak where I like to see if I can do better than the people who actually get paid to do it for a living, which reasonably often do. So it's just a fun kind of nerdy thing. I saw the NFL draft once described as fan fiction for football fans, and it seems pretty accurate.
That's interesting. Scully, you're a fan of it. What makes you excited? Because you're a Bears fan. So you shouldn't like the draft that much. But
I loved it last year. But no, I mean, because I'm also
that guy.
a big college ball fan. A lot of the top players were just absolute monsters in college. Just nice seeing like the best of the best get their due on draft night, be with their friends and their families and their girlfriends and wives who won't be there in 3 months. And I think especially in this draft, it's one of those where it was recently described as like the guy who goes number 5 and the guy who goes at number 45 will be the exact same player in terms of talent. This is such a deep draft and such a level draft in terms of the talent on display. You can make an argument for like 6 different guys who could go number 1 overall. You can make an argument for like 30 different guys who could go in the top 10. It's absolutely insane. So I think this draft in particular, it's really fun to like try and pinpoint who goes where when they go, and if any team is desperate enough to trade up in a draft where everything is so level.
So yeah, interesting concept. As an outsider of the NFL draft, so like this season with this podcast, I'm going to get way more into college football than I ever really have before. I'm going to try to do a pick'em and stuff with that this year, and overall record. But I feel like this is the most underwhelming class that I've heard in a long time. Like, there's no like standout really quarterback that's like driving the thing. I saw an interesting stat like the 2012 season of all the QB leaders, and then the next year the 2013 quarterback class, and how awful they were. I think that is a very similar, but I also think a lot of the quarterbacks taken last year were not really great, especially that bad guy in uh, uh, Chicago. I will root against Justin Fields now for the rest of his life because he messed with Jersey Jerry, and I don't stand for that slander.
Fuck Jersey Jerry.
Don't ever say that again. So what we're basically going to do is
grown ass man.
Listen.
21-year-old kid for an autograph.
Hey, that's what his job was. Okay, scumbum. So what's basically going to happen is Lucas Thomas basically going to sell me what player deserves to be drafted. That's what the whole thing is. Who they think they're going to compete against each other, see who's right, who's wrong. They may be 100% in line. They may be 100% wrong. I like when they're wrong. It makes the show more interesting for me. We're basically going to use this. We're going to go through. We're going to talk, and then I will be the deciding of who sold me better. Not saying you have to like tell me. Don't talk long because I don't give a crap. If we run super long, we won't talk about round 2. If we run at a normal speed, we'll talk about round 2. Different things will happen. Because I don't want to do a 4-hour show this late at night. Okay, so on the clock, Jacksonville. By the way, everybody listening to this, coming up soon, me, Scully, and other people, whoever can be on, will be on. We are going to break down all 32 teams of the NFL, talk about pros, cons, ads, difference, and then what we think their overall record's going to be in the moving season. There'll be like 20-minute videos. There'll be quick fired on the channel at one point. But we're basically doing it in the order of this draft of the worst record to think. So first one we will talk about will be Jacksonville. Jacksonville opened their bank accounts and spent in the worst way I've ever seen in an offseason. Talk more in depth when we do in Jacksonville. I have a player on my Dynasty Fantasy League as Christian Kirk, and he got paid. Did he deserve it? No.
Broke the damn league.
He got paid. But I wouldn't even pay that much to keep him on my team, I'll be honest with you. So, Scully, I'll let you go first. Who should Jacksonville take with their first overall selection?
Well, I think their biggest thing right now is edge rusher. They really need, especially in that division, they're going to need guys who can be able to pressure the quarterback and get after them real quickly. In terms of who they should take and who they will take, I think they're going to take Aiden Hutchinson, the top overall guy. I think a lot of reports coming out being like, "Hey, it's Trent Baalke versus Shad Khan as who's going to get final say in the pick." I like Trayvon Walker, Kayvon Thibodeau, even Jermaine Johnson more than Aiden Hutchinson. I wasn't all that impressed with him in the semifinal game against Georgia. I thought he played very lackluster against an offensive line that was not all that great. I could care less about what he did against teams like Washington and Penn State because those teams were bad. And then, of course, Ohio State, that was like a fit of rage. So I'm not all high on him as other people, but I think he's going to be the top overall pick. I think Jacksonville is going to make a somewhat stable and safer pick rather than going for a more controversial pick here.
Lucas, who should Jacksonville take?
Okay, so Jacksonville does need an edge rusher, but let's be real. You don't take edge rushers with short arms because arm length is incredibly important for pass rusher. It's about the distance you can get between you and the offensive tackle when you're blitzing. So Jacksonville is going to take Georgia defensive end Trayvon Walker, who is an absolute freak of nature. He has the second fastest 40 time ever at 270 pounds. The fastest guy is Dwight Freeney, who weighs 230 pounds. He's 40 pounds heavier, and he's way faster. He is a freak of nature. And when you come to this draft, I've seen Hutchinson described as Kyle Vanden Bosch, somebody who might consistently get 7 to 8 sacks. If you're going to bet on the number one pick, why would you bet on somebody whose upside is the 12th best edge rusher in the league? If you're going to bet on the number one pick, you're going to bet on the player who's just a freak of nature. You're going to bet on Trayvon Walker.
And as a Georgia fan, watching him this season, he's not that good of a pass rusher. And especially in that division, that's what you need the most. Hutchinson, from the scouter's eye and perspective, is the more complete edge rusher. I think Walker has a higher ceiling, no doubt about it. But I think right now, Hutchinson is who Jacksonville is going to go with just because he is what you would call the complete package from an edge rusher.
This is a really interesting to start the round. They already disagree. I'm going to, as much as I was sold by Lucas, I'm going to, there's a thing on this podcast that I really like to see Scully being wrong. So I'm going to take Aiden as the first number one pick, just to see. And then I can always say, Lucas, I should have listened to you. You were right.
I mean, if you think Aiden's going to go one, you should go bet that right now. Because Trayvon is like a minus 150, minus 200 favorite right now to go number one. I would bet Aiden if you think he's going.
I'll hammer those odds right now. I love it when that happens because that's the trendy pick, and then it almost never happens, and then Vegas decides to have a parade.
Next up, we're going to go Lucas here. The Lions. Looks like the needs are quarterback, linebacker, defensive back. Jared Goff traded for him. Not the quarterback anymore. Who should they pick? I'm
going to just roll over exactly what I said with the previous pick. I think I think it's more likely Trayvon goes 1, but I think if they take Hutchinson at 1, I think the Lions would jump on Trayvon. Yes, he doesn't have the pass rushing skills of Hutchinson yet. He was not asked to do that in the Georgia scheme. He was in an incredibly talented scheme with a bunch of incredibly talented players and was asked to do a bunch of different things, including play coverage. And yes, he can drop into coverage as a 270-pound defensive end. Dude's a freak. I think if he's there, Dan Campbell will jump all over that.
So you take Walker here. Scully.
Oh, I agree. I think Hutch 1, Walker 2. Walker fits exactly what Dan Campbell is trying to build in Detroit. A kneecap biter who is just has relentless energy every single time he steps out onto the field. I think Detroit is definitely okay with taking somebody who is going to take a little bit more time to develop, but with the higher upside. That is something that I think Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, the new GM in Detroit, is something that's something that they're going to be really okay with, because they know that they're not going to contend this year. It's going to be in 2023 at the earliest where they're going to be like trying to get to the playoffs. So they're okay with still trying to develop guys for another year before really starting to contend. I think Walker is going to be a big part of their future going forward. That too.
And I will say, I'm not going to argue for him, but pick 2 is the first pick where you start talking QB, and whenever QBs go, that's going to cause a cascade down the board.
If Detroit goes QB in this draft, it will wreck everything they have done so far to rebuild this franchise.
Potentially, but I think it is very much in play at number 2.
I think it's funny. Next is Houston, every position. They don't have anything. So where do you even start with Houston? I think Houston was one of the weirdest ones, especially the games that they did win last year, was just like, why are you not tanking? But yeah. Scully, who could take it?
Yeah, you kind of just have to go with like whoever catches your eye the most. And the guy who I think catches your eye the most out of the guys left, give me the Sauce Gardner. I think I was on the Stingley train for a while as the top guy. But I think Gardner has now overtaken him, especially with everything that's gone on for the last couple of months. I think he had a better. I think his measurables are a little bit better. Stingley kind of has been coasting off the success of his freshman year, and even though I think he's really talented and will still probably go in the top 10, I think Gardner is a little bit better prospect right now. He allowed against Alabama and Notre Dame, 2 high-profile teams. He allowed 2 catches total. That's insane. 2 high-profile college programs with a history of NFL caliber players, and he allows 2 catches against both those teams. That's incredible. Screw the lack of competition he was facing at Cincinnati. The AAC has still churned out dozens of really solid players over the last few years in the NFL, and he'll be the next one. He might be better than all of them. So I think he is one of those guys who I think Houston can use to build upon going forward, and he's going to become a fan favorite real quickly.
Okay. Do you agree, Lucas?
I do have the Texans taking Sauce Gardner at 3. Never allowed a touchdown in coverage the entire time he was in college. Definite easy pick.
So we're talking from Cincinnati right here?
I'm on Gardner, yes.
Okay. You guys keep calling him Sauce. I don't know what you're talking
about. Because that's his
I understand, but at the end of the day, he's from Cincinnati, and all I heard all season was they played nobody. So how great can it be? Interesting. Next up, Jets.
Cody, you sound like Mel Kiper.
Yeah, you got paid a lot of money. I'll take that. Jets tried to get Hill, couldn't get Hill. Hill was never going there, but he was at least in the rumor. So they need a wide receiver, linebacker, quarterback. Lucas, who they take?
So they have a lot of needs, but they also, from everything I've read, have absolutely fallen in love with a player who's not necessarily as big of a need. He does fit a potential need if you start believing that Mekhi Becton, their offensive tackle, may be an injury and weight concern going forward. I think the Jets take Ike Ekwonu, the offensive tackle from NC State. He is a disgusting run blocker. He has they have this tradition at NC State where they give you a bottle of maple syrup every time you get a pancake block. He has 290 of these bottles. He's a complete freak of nature. He's just nasty. If you want to put him at right tackle, even play him at guard while you try to figure out what's going to happen with Becton, I think he just fit in. And from everything I've read, Joe Douglas has absolutely fallen in love with Icky, even if he's not the biggest need for the team.
That's the most North Carolina thing I've ever heard in my life. Scully, thoughts?
As much as I don't like to take stock in these pre-draft rumors and reports, I do think Ike Ekwonu is a good fit for the Jets here at 4, just because, hey, if you're going to commit to Zach Wilson as your franchise quarterback, you got to give him as much protection as you possibly can, no matter if Mekhi Becton is injury-plagued or not. I think he is the best offensive tackle prospect in this draft, slightly above Evan Neal. Like Lucas said, he is a disgusting blocker. He has 50 cans of maple syrup in his fucking house. And he's going to get more with the Jets. He might start a tradition there. And I think that's something that the Jets need desperately, is guys who come from high culture programs who know the value of teamwork, the camaraderie, and essentially playing football in a way that involves all 53 guys on the roster. So I think he's going to be a good culture guy that Douglas and Robert Saleh can help kind of mold this team into what they want. For very much like what Campbell and Holmes are doing in Detroit, this will be a pick very similar to that. So I think I agree. Ekwonu goes in number 4.
Giants. I believe they need a quarterback. To be honest with you, I think the Baker slander is one thing, but I think Baker should literally go to the Giants. I don't know why that's not an option. I understand, but he's better than Daniel Jones in my opinion. Everybody else, they need an offensive line. Overall, that's what the biggest problem is, especially if you're going to keep Saquon. Scully, who do they take?
Yeah, you said it. Offensive line. They need to lighten the load on Saquon. They keep him from getting hit 25,000 times a game, and you need to give Daniel Jones more than 3 seconds with the horrendous receiving core that they have. I still don't think he's great, but I don't think he is at fault for everything that has gone wrong with that franchise. So they're going to take Evan Neal from Alabama to help try and alleviate some of that pressure that's been on Daniel Jones. I think even with Neal, Jones will still find a way to trip over his own 2 feet, try and run to the end zone. I watch that video at least once a week because it's just so funny. But yeah, I think at this point the Giants kind of go off of the best available in terms of who they need. They could go edge rusher, they could go Kayvon, they could go Jermaine Johnson, but I think offensive line is such a big need at the moment, and especially because the Giants are picking again at number 7, they have a little bit more freedom to kind of go whoever's the best available right now, and then go somebody that more so fits their needs down at 7. Or vice versa. So they have the freedom to do whatever the fuck they want here. But I think they go Evan Neal here.
Go ahead, Lucas.
So I agree it's offensive tackle, but I think it's Charles Cross, not Neal. This is, again, where I start diving into rumors. The 2 big things that I've heard in the last couple of days is, 1, Giants love Cross, and 2, there are legitimate concerns about the hips and knees of Evan Neal and some injury durability concerns. He's definitely the higher ceiling prospect and the one you can look at and he is a freak body. He is 6'8", 340. He looks like he weighs 260 pounds. I think Cross is an incredibly well-developed pass blocker. I think if you're the Giants and you want to make sure you protect Daniel Jones and give him the best shot, you give him the guy who can just pass block in his sleep over the dude who's potentially a higher ceiling, but maybe a couple years away in terms of all-around versatility. I think they're going to go Cross over Neal here.
I think Cross falls, I'll be honest.
So went with Scully in the first one. I'm going to go Lucas on here. Bad knees. Bad knees. Going to go with that. Bad hips. So we're going to go across. All right, Panthers. Joke of an organization. Need a quarterback. Traded for Sam Darnold. Let me tell you, Sam Darnold ain't it. And Robbie Anderson doesn't want Baker. Like, what? Is that a real thing? I don't know if that was fake or real, but if it was, that's really terrible.
No one wants Baker.
I wouldn't want Baker on my team, to be honest. I don't think he's necessarily worse than Darnold, but from a character and like professional concern, I'd much rather play with a team with Darnold, especially considering I don't think Baker's
Stop
the guy.
it.
He's a jackass. He's a complete
He
jackass.
may be a jackass, but at least he has some emotions and going to win. You're going to give him that many coordinators, that many years. You put Tom Brady in that league, and he doesn't do as well. You can't trade.
He has great progressive commercials. You shut your mouth.
You can't trade. You can't trade off coordinators that many times and expect them to be great. Like the system needs to be built at some point.
No, I'm not gonna say Baker's.
I would take him over Darnold. That would be my opinion. But
I think if in a vacuum maybe, but not when you already have one guy on the cap under the cap, and then you just have to add something else. That's the problem.
It's like trading aluminum for copper.
He took Cleveland back to the playoffs. You can say what you want. He took him there.
No, I agree. It's just I don't think anyone's trading for that contract.
Trade Mac Jones for him right now. Anyways,
no.
All right, Carolina. Lucas, I think you get to lead off.
So I think they're going to take Kenny Pickett. I hate this pick. He's my QB5, but that team has that GM and coach are on a serious hot seat. They have to get a QB in the building. I think I've seen a lot of reports that they don't want to take a QB, that they'd much rather take something else. And I think they would much rather take something else. But I think it's like when you get sick, you got to take medicine. And when you have nothing on your roster and you're trying to convince an owner who is not known for patience that you should stay around for another year, I think you have to go QB. And I think the reason they're going to go Pickett over somebody else, and yes, I think he is the fifth most talented guy in this class. I think he is arguably a career backup and not a starter in the league, is that they think he's the most pro ready. And that at least is the narrative that seems to be around him. I would not take him in maybe the first 2 rounds. I do think that Kenny Pickett is going to Carolina.
He did the fake slide.
He did do the fake slide.
Wow. By the way, if you really want, like when we were talking about it earlier, talk about quarterback class versus quarterback class. This is literally the definition. Sorry, you can bring casual people in that watch college football and be like, name these people. And they're like, yeah, no chance. Scully, do you agree they go quarterback? Do you agree that it's Pickett?
I agree they go quarterback, and as much as I didn't want to buy into so I think here's the thing. I think Pickett is very much a high floor, low ceiling kind of guy. I don't think he has a lot of great potential in the league. I think he's a serviceable guy who can get you through a few seasons before you transition to something better. Lucas and I have been battling over who is going to be the pick. I had said Willis for the longest time, but I'm going to agree with Lucas that they need somebody with a little bit more stability. I think Pickett is the pick. I think Carolina does, I think Carolina tries to trade this pick. They try to trade, but because this is a draft where literally trading up is the most pointless thing ever, they're going to have to eat this. They're going to have to just eat it, take Pickett, and go home. And no one's going to feel good about it. At the end of the day, Scott Fitterer is going to have to do the biggest acting job ever when he calls Kenny Pickett and tells him how excited he is about having him in Carolina, because he's not. I think Pickett has the tools necessary to be successful, but not over a long term. So I see him very much like a Mariota or maybe a Jameis type career on the horizon. Has some success early, but when year 4 or 5 pops up, starts to definitely go decline, and then after that, he's just battling for starting spots at different points in his career. So he's my QB3. I think he's better than a couple of the guys on there, but I don't take him over. I don't take him over Willis and Ritter.
Man, not a lot of great quarterbacks come from Pitt. Just to throw that out there, I think Dan Marino's the only one that's went to Pitt, and actually made something of himself. Interesting. Yeah, if I'm Carolina, I'm not excited either way if I get Pickett or not. I know Jersey Jerry really wants Pickett to go to the Steelers, but because he's from
Jersey Jerry's a dumbass.
You're a scumbag, okay? Don't talk shit on Jersey Jerry.
Shut up.
Next up is back on the clock. Giants. I like when teams do this. I like when teams get there back. Top 10 picks. Like that's a great choice.
What could go wrong?
Yeah. Who do they take now, Scully? Who they pick?
There is no possible way for the Giants to mess this up. There is no possible way. There's way too much time for them to mess it up. And I think they have a good night by taking Kayvon Thibodeau at number 7. So Kayvon is a guy that I've loved watching play ever since he started at Oregon. Even watching his high school highlights, this man's fucking explosive as hell. He's very raw. He needs some refinement in his game and the way he moves. However, I think that over time, he may end up being one of the best edge rushers to ever play the game of football. I just think he has so much potential in him that, I'm calling it now. After a few games, Giants fans are going to call him the next Lawrence Taylor. It's not going to be deserved, but at some point they're going to call him that because they're that desperate for any sort of success. I can see the fucking Twitter posts and comments now calling him the next Lawrence Taylor, but it won't be true. But I'm very surprised that he's fallen this far. I saw a draft board that had him at 15 or 16. I'm like, when did we decide this guy was no longer decent? Is it just a product of how deep this draft is? So I think he's one of the best prospects in the draft. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes higher if some team like Houston or Detroit just takes him at 2 or 3. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes 4 to the Jets either. But I think him at 7 with the Giants, a Giants draft of Crosser, Neal, and Thibodeau.
Yeah.
Winner, chicken dinner.
You guys have, he's got an ADP of 4.7. So obviously some people are taking a little higher. Lucas, do you agree with him on this choice?
Yeah, I think you take Kayvon at 7. I think the concerns are real. He says some stupid shit at times. Did a really dumb comment that I think was trying to talk about how he was a good self-evaluator, but he made some dumb comment about how no coach needed to tell him what his weaknesses were, which came up just very bad. And he does some questions about his bends. He's not super flexible in his lower half, and at times he does have some effort concerns. But I think if one of these players is going to blow up and become just a true elite A-tier pass rusher off the edge, it would probably be Thibodeau. So yeah, totally on board with him at 7.
All right.
Hey, he plays chess really well too.
I don't give a shit about that. By the way, I like what Lucas is bringing. He's going to be one of the people I feature on the teams this year. I think he'll add some insight, but apparently he gets really nerdy on this shit. And stop caring about movies and start caring about sports again. Welcome to the rest of us. Okay. Next up, the Falcons. It says quarterback. I don't know why they signed a quarterback. They signed Oregon quarterback Mariota. I don't think they need one anymore. But they need a lot of other things. They also lost a wide receiver for the entire season because he gambled $1,500. What's happening? What's happening in Atlanta? Lucas, who do they take?
I think they do need quarterback because obviously Mariota's just a bridge guy, but this is not the draft for it. I think what you should do is your team's going to be terrible. This might be the worst roster in the entire league. You're already in tank mode for Bryce Young, and the way to do it, and one of the smartest things you could do here is you take somebody who is fallen a little bit down, but legitimately might be the best player in this entire draft, and that's Jameson Williams, the wide receiver from Alabama. To me, he is the best receiver in this draft. I don't think it's particularly close. He is a 4.3 burner. He's got all the speed. He can run routes. He can catch screen passes. He can block. He is nasty. And you go watch 15 minutes of highlights of this dude, and you're like, yes, please. You bring him in. He tore his ACL in the national title game against Georgia. And that's why basically Alabama didn't win the national title. He probably won't play the first 6 weeks of the season. That's fine. Your team's terrible. You want to lose anyway. And after 6 weeks, you'll probably have the best receiver in this class, and it won't be Wilson.
Scully?
I wrestled for a long time over which position to go for. You have no idea how many times I typed in Malik Willis and then deleted it because I was just fooling myself. But I agree they go receiver. But I think they take a guy who not only has production from the outside, but also has good production in the slot, and that's Garrett Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson is wide receiver 1 in this draft class. I like Jameson a lot, but I think his ability to create separation is unbelievable. I think especially in a division where you're going up against guys like Marcus Lattimore, J.C. Horn once he comes back from injury. You need to be able to have a wide receiver who can get the fuck away from those guys and get open. I think Wilson is able to bring it to the table a lot more than Jameson. And I think once you have him and Ridley on a roster next season with whichever rookie QB you draft, that is a deadly, deadly combination. On throwing Kyle Pitts in there too, it's unbelievable. So I think Wilson is a smarter pick here, just because of how versatile he is and where you can play them. Playing with Garrett Wilson and Kyle Pitts on a roster, there's so many different combinations for Arthur Smith to do and to unlock that's going to be an offense that's going to be really, really fun to watch next season, even with Marcus Mariota as your QB.
So,
can I respond, Jones, quickly? I would just say I think Wilson's he's my wide receiver 3. I like Wilson. I don't think Wilson is a wide receiver 1 at his peak. I think he's a 2. I like him as a supporting piece to somebody else. I feel like there are only maybe 2 to 3 real number 1s, and Williams is the best of that group. I think if you want the elite of the elite, I think it's James Williams. If you want a really good piece that's a supporting piece, I think you want Wilson. That's just my opinion.
Okay. Overall disagreement. Who do I decide on? This is actually going to be I'm going to let my opinion show on this one because I have a little bit of knowledge. I watched a little bit of both. And if Jameson Williams does not go in that title game, they win the national championship. He was literally dicing people up and down, and he's also one of the reasons they won the first game against Georgia. He had insane. He's just insane. Yeah, so I'm gonna actually go Jameson Williams here. Again, and Scully can tell me I'm wrong on draft night when something else happens. I just think it's really funny that you guys are picking wide receiver, and that's fine and all. But it doesn't matter who's the quarterback. It could be the greatest quarterback behind. With that offensive line, he's going to have literally 1.3 seconds to throw the ball into any direction possible without dying behind. So I don't know if there's an offensive lineman here that you take, especially if you're saying it looks like there's no big one after that point, after Neal. And if you're saying the stuff about Neal is correct, that's a problematic situation. So I don't say
the fact that you don't have Ridley for a whole year and Kyle Pitts is your only product of receiving, you can't have that going into the season. You need somebody.
So, okay. So Seattle blew it up over the offseason. We'll talk about that when we come to the draft. Will they trade DK Metcalf? Please trade DK Metcalf. Trade him to somebody that will catch balls. But they don't have anything anymore. They gave rid of everything. Their defense kind of imploded too. They kind of they did the whole sell. So did I start with? I did start with Lucas. Scully. Who do they take to fill some of their problems?
Well, the beauty of what Seattle, I think, does is I think they got a pretty good return for Russ. You're able to get good pieces like Noah Fant, and you can just throw Drew Lock out there until he eventually dies of a pass rusher goring him, and just go off of what happens there. But I think they have a really good opportunity to not get back in the playoff hunt, but to make some noise this season on some sort of level, and they do that by taking Derek Stingley. Having a player like Derek Stingley fall into your lap at number 9, when in any other year he might be a top 3 pick, is unheard of. He was one of the best players in the country in 2019 when they won the national championship. This is a guy who regularly in practice went up against Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, two of the best receivers in football at the moment. This is a guy whose daily reps were against two future Hall of Fame wide receivers. I'm sorry, you can't. The way they're going, maybe.
Well, you're talking like they're an ACL away from done.
All right, well let's try to keep positive here. But what I'm saying is,
by this philosophy, Josh Gordon was a Hall of Famer after 1 year with the Browns.
Hey, stay off the weed. But what I'm saying is, this guy could not have better reps against better players, and it showed. And yeah, he got a little bit lazy in terms of what happened the last couple seasons, but I think what his game tape shows from 2019 and from what he would be able to do at LSU going up against all those guys shows that at the highest level of competition, he's willing and ready to compete at the highest level. And I think in a place like Seattle, he's going to have the ability to do so against Cooper Kupp, DeAndre Hopkins, no, maybe Debo if things get fixed there, but probably not. But I think that's going to be a real test for him. I think he's going to rise to that occasion and be a superstar in Seattle.
Scully, Lucas, what you got?
So, I expressed the concern with Evan Neal at 5. I think it is a concern as of now. I don't have enough evidence to prove it's going to be completely take people off his boards. I think if he's there, I think Seattle takes Evan Neal, just solidify the offensive line. And I think they're really going to like the size and athleticism profile he's going to bring.
I will say Seattle has had a rough history with first-round offensive linemen who have ended up being real shit. Jermaine Ifedi, if you're listening, fuck you. You fucked Russ and you fucked Justin Fields, so fuck you.
Well, Justin Fields, bad guy. So I'm gonna go cornerback here. I'm gonna go. I think that's the pick. Just to keep my two mock drafters, we are on pick 10 and we're at 37 minutes. So let's start slowing some.
Well, that was the top 10. We can go.
Well, we're on the Jets' second pick, traded from Seattle. They also we have them taking a tackle the first time. Who do they take in the second one, Lucas? Who is it?
So in my personal mock, I have them taking Stingley because he's still here. If Stingley's not there, I think they take Drake London, wide receiver from USC. Big body, good at high pointing the ball. We know Zach Wilson likes to throw into double coverage and to somewhat covered receivers. I think this guy perfectly fits Zach Wilson's style.
Just Chuck.
I love watching Zach Wilson play.
The Mormon Missile 2.0, baby.
Scully.
I have them taking Kyle Hamilton. I think Kyle Hamilton, like Stingley, is such a raw athletic player. I think his future in the league can be sky high. He kind of reminds me of a little bit of what Jabril Peppers was, but like less of what like the linebacker is. Very much a multi-tool player that you can do whatever the hell you want with him. Kind of like if Isaiah Simmons was more of the safety than the linebacker, and we saw how high he went back when he was drafted. But I think he has much more potential than Isaiah Simmons. So I think the Jets take a multi-tool guy who they can like be really creative in their defense with. I think Hamilton fits that bill.
Of course, you guys are disagreeing again. I'm going London. I think they draft a receiver. I think they need that. I think they're missing out on all the key pieces. I don't think they get Debo. So I think Drake is the choice. The Commanders. Can't wait to hear that uttered for the first time on stage. Well, fucking had all the opportunity and fucking squandered it. Don't have a quarterback, basically. They're still in the same situation. They're struggling. They have Carson Wentz, but Now, I think Carson Wentz gets a bad rap. I think last season he had a productive season. I think he did, but he was behind a insane offensive line. He is not going to that in Washington. Not of an insane offensive line. So Scully, I didn't take Hamilton in the over the walls thing. Yours is different. Again, we'll compare. We'll make sure we all have access to everybody's mock on the night so we can roast each other. But who do you have them taking here?
Yeah, so I in my mock I have them taking London, just because I think he'd be a really good like number 2 piece to Scary Terry. But with London gone, I think they go Kyle Hamilton. I think they definitely. I think they need some more pieces to that defense. That defense underperformed severely in 2021. We were all shocked as to how awful they were, how awful they looked the first half of the season. They cleaned it up a bit as it went along, but that the lack of production from that defense was a little jarring to see. So I think they're going to get a guy who like what I said with the Jets. You can be really creative with him. Use him in a lot of different schemes, a lot of different ways. I think he'll fit right in with the Commanders.
Lucas.
I also had the Commanders in my own personal mock taking Drake London. But I also agree that if London is not there, it makes sense to go Hamilton.
Okay, Hamilton is it. Thanks. See, I say something, you guys do it better. Do good players come from Notre Dame? Oh, our graphics guy, the man that helps me pick up thumbnails. His Vikings are on the board. Caleb Coho's Vikings. Are you guys going to be nice to him? Who do they get? Who do they get to help that team out? We're going to start with Lucas.
So I had Hamilton here in my personal mock. So that's going to. I think if Hamilton is not available.
So why'd you go London then on the one if you have that?
I had London at 11, so I pushed. Because Stingley went 9, so then I pushed my 11 to my 10, and then my 12 to my 11. My draft's getting just pushed. My personal mock's just getting pushed up.
That's right.
I think they take Jordan Davis if Hamilton's not here. They take the huge 6'6", 340-pound defensive tackle from Georgia who runs a 4.7. They need interior defensive line, and he is a freak of all freaks. And when you get a chance to take somebody like that, you say thank you, and you run the card in, and you'd be happy with it.
Scully.
I absolutely agree with Lucas. I have Davis in my pick at my mock at number 12 to Minnesota. He is your prototypical Minnesota purple people eater. He literally eats tackles for breakfast. I mean, there's literally nothing this man cannot run through. Like I said, 4.7 40, unheard of. There's a little concern about it. They're a little concerned about his stamina, but I think with just his pure power, you can work on the stamina just a little bit. I wonder what kind of mentality and culture Kevin O'Connell is going to bring to Minnesota, and how that's going to affect how the defense is run. If it's going to be more on the coordinator side, or if it's going to be like an overall thing. But I think Davis is a really good pick here. Honestly, it's between Davis and Wyatt. They need a run stopper. They need a guy who can just pound their way through the line and get after the quarterback. So, but I think Davis is the pick over Wyatt.
I'll just say the one player I'm most excited to watch for in the next coming seasons. I'll probably buy his damn jersey. That big behemoth is just going to be the best thing to watch in football. I don't care. I'd take him one at this point. I just want to see him. Like, he is terrifying. That man, if I saw him in the airport, I'd probably walk the other way. The dude is just freaking huge, and I can't wait till he just like. I just see a clip of him just landing on Rodgers or Justin Fields and just gets up. Oh, it's gonna be beautiful. Let's go.
Man, if he hurts Justin Fields, I'm gonna be really sad.
Oh, I'm hoping he takes Justin Fields out and slams it around his head. It would be great. Bad guy. Cleveland gave this pick to Texans. Texans are back up. Who are they taking? Scully.
I'm thinking Jermaine Johnson, the edge rusher from Florida State. This is a guy who has just vaulted up draft boards in recent weeks just because of his explosive nature. I mean, He started out in my mocks as kind of
Who?
a Jermaine Johnson.
Okay.
You might have to scroll down a little bit.
He's down to like 24 or something.
Right there. Okay.
Yeah, this is a guy who was like projected like early round 2, like at the start of the year, and then he just kept. And then the Senior Bowl happened, and then he just blew people away when he was just able to just get after the quarterback and get guys down. He's the guy who's been trending upwards. Teams are falling in love. Reportedly, teams are falling in love with him. Whether that is true or not, who knows? But I think once looking at those trends right there, he just keeps going up and up and up. This is a guy who is going to go a lot earlier than I think he should on draft night. But I think especially for a team like the Texans who like the trendy pick, they're going to get Sauce Gardner at 3. He's trendy, and they're going to get Johnson at 13, and he's also trendy.
Okay. Are you buying the hype as well, Lucas?
So I like Johnson, but this is the point in my mock where I have a trade. I had Pittsburgh trading 20 and 52 for 13 to jump up and take Malik Willis. Let the Texans trade down to 20, get a second rounder. This draft is deep. You get an extra pick in the second round. Your team already has a bunch of holes. An extra player would probably help you out. Trade down. If you can do it right now, it's an 82% chance of going through. Jump up. I have the Pittsburgh Steelers jumping up. Get Malik Willis. Mike Tomlin loves Malik Willis. He loves the mobility. He loves the mentality. I think the Steelers would love him as the next quarterback.
So you have them trading the 20 and 52 for the 13?
Yep.
Oh. Ooh.
Now I will say, I have the Steelers trading up not that much, but to get the exact same guy.
Since yours is a reach, I think I'm gonna do the. I think this will be interesting. So
honestly, I'm okay with that.
All right, so now they're on the clock. You're saying that. I just wanted to hear it from your mouth. You're telling me right now on draft night at number 13, Pittsburgh Steelers trades up. They don't believe Mitch Trubisky is their guy?
I think they believe Mitch Trubisky can be their guy for 6 games while Malik Willis gets acclimated. I don't think they think Malik Willis. I don't think they think Mitch is any longer than that. And you just want to watch. You just want to get it to the point where we can watch Malik Willis throw 60-yard bombs.
Yeah,
and I think we'll all enjoy that. And then
from Liberty, who is this guy?
It's the Jerry Falwell School.
Do you guys know what the name of their sports teams is?
So yeah, 27% said they're going to get him. But do you think that? So they say 27% are picking them. Do you believe this trade? Everybody believes that Pittsburgh is trading up, or do you believe that this quarterback could be around in round 2?
Pittsburgh once traded up 11 spots to grab Devin Bush. I think all bets are off when it comes to Pittsburgh and trading.
But my question is, do you think he's around in round 2 if they do not trade up?
No,
I don't think he gets to 20, their first pick, if they don't trade.
I think in my mock, there's a chance he does get to 20, but in my mock, Pittsburgh goes up to 18, swaps with Philly, goes above New Orleans, and snags him before New Orleans can potentially grab him. They wait for the last possible second.
Oh, I love the trade feature. Wish there were more trades coming, but we'll talk about that later. Ravens, kind of 14, kind of a middle season for them. Not overall bad. Still have a lot of the core crew together, but their defense is kind of taking some hits. So where do they go here? I think I have an idea of where you guys will go, but let's see if my prediction is right. Scully, who do they think?
You want to start with Lucas first because it's an even.
What the fuck? Lucas. Sorry, we did the trade.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I think they take Trent McDuffie, the cornerback from Washington. The big problem at the end of the season last year for the Ravens was they could not cover anybody. I think they take McDuffie. He is the last. I would argue the tier 2 corner, but the only corner in tier 2. So after he's gone, both tier 1 and 2 will be gone. So I think if you don't take him, there's a decent step down to the next class. And I think that's why they'll jump all over McDuffie if he's there.
Gotcha.
My personal mock, I had Davis still on the board, but I think McDuffie's the pick if he's not there.
Scully, who do you take?
Yeah, I have McDuffie in my mock at 14. It makes too much sense This is a guy who allowed no more than 40 yards on any sort of reception in any game last year, which is insane. University of Washington has actually had a pretty good history of developing good corners. And he's especially in a division where now you have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase as a legitimate deep threat. You want guys who can cover those deep threats, go one-on-one with the receiver, play man really well, and he really fits that bill. So I think there's a chance he might go earlier, but I don't think he gets past like the Ravens or the Eagles or that whole area of the draft. So he goes to Baltimore here.
The best fan base ever coming next, Philadelphia.
Now those are some bad guys.
Listen, not as bad as New York Yankee fans. Anyways, they have 2 picks and they're pretty close to each other. They had 3, am I correct? And they did that trade with whatever to get another pick.
Fucked with New Orleans.
So who do they take here?
It's me.
Yeah.
My personal favorite player in this draft, Nakobe Dean. This guy's an absolute monster. I love watching it. Lucas, shut up. I love watching this dude play. He was so fun to watch at Georgia. He can drop into coverage. Dude had a pick 6 against Florida. And as a Georgia fan, when there's a pick 6 against Florida, everyone goes fucking nuts. But yeah, he's everything you want in a linebacker. He drop into coverage. He can rush the quarterback. He'll put you on your ass. He'll rip the ball out of your hands. He's like the perfect all around linebacker. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up going a little bit earlier as well, because like if Cleveland had still been there, I think he might have gone there to them at 13 if they kept their pick, or maybe a little bit earlier. But I think Philly, I think Howie Roseman writes that name in Sharpie pre-draft and just gives it to Goodell like 3 hours before.
Do you nerds ever subscribe for the Samara analysis?
I'm really curious. We do not. It's not worth it.
Just double checking. Seems like a one-time only thing. Lucas, you had a visceral reaction to this pick. Thoughts?
Yeah. So he's my linebacker too. I don't have him in the first round. I think he's going to fall out. He's 5'11", 229. He did not run a 40 in his preparation, which probably tells us it's not a good 40. He's probably like a 4.7 guy. I think there's a legitimate question about the fact that he played behind the most talented defensive line in college football. There's a thing you see oftentimes in the draft where you see really good college middle linebackers go to the pros and not succeed because they're not used to having lesser talent in front of them. In my personal mock, I had Trent McDuffie here. He's gone. I would have the Eagles take Jermaine Johnson, the edge rusher. I think edge rusher is a bigger need. I think linebacker is probably a bigger need. I don't think they take a linebacker, and I definitely don't think they take Dean. I think they take Johnson if he's.
Does the name Roquan Smith ring a bell to you?
I've heard of him.
This is the exact same situation.
Who do you think they take? Jermaine Johnson?
I think they take Jermaine Johnson.
Okay, so I'm battling because overall Scully picked him earlier to go, so I don't think I would say that you would put probably him a little higher, but you like this guy. Lucas just has a really good way of talking and just
I will say the Roquan Smith comparison. Roquan Smith ran a 40 and he ran a 4.5.
Oh no, he didn't run a 40.
If you don't run, that's usually not a good sign unless you're injured.
Maybe he's injured.
So I skipped over originally, so I'm going to go Jermaine Johnson here since you already picked him earlier. So you thought he was good enough talent, and he's jumping up. So I think that would be the reason why they would take them.
I think linebacker is a bigger need for Philly than edge rusher.
Right.
Personally. So I think especially with Lloyd and Dean so high on the boards, they go one of them with their first pick, personally. And Dean is linebacker one, in my opinion.
There are so many good linebackers in the second round. And there's a lot. Edge class falls off a lot quicker. I love the second round linebackers.
I don't know how to go back on this thing. So
It's fine.
I already picked who I picked, so
Oh.
we're going to go with that. We got Saints at 16. So that's Lucas.
Okay, so I originally, in my personal mock draft, I had Garrett Wilson. But if he falls to here, I think they jump on Evan Neal in a heartbeat. And I think that's an easy pick for them. They might be injury concerns, but he's fallen all the way from the top 5 to 16. I think that's a pretty easy pick.
Do you agree, Scully?
I think it's worth. I think in their eyes, it's worth consideration. But if Garrett Wilson falls too, because like in my mock, I had Jameson Williams going all the way down here to New Orleans. I think he had the potential to fall a little bit just because of the injury. I think Jameson's a perfect fit in New Orleans, but I think Garrett Wilson is still a good fit there. He can he can take the load off slant boy a bit in the passing game. Neal is worth consideration, but, and this is a big but, if he falls, New Orleans is going to do their research, and if they find something wrong with Neal or even Cross or whatever, they're going to go towards receiver, because I think receiver is a little bit of a bigger need at the moment than offensive line.
So Scully, where do you have Neal going in your draft right now?
I had Neal going at 5 to New York, the Giants.
So he's fallen this far. I'll go Wilson. Here. See where it's at. Neal still will remain on the board for the San Diego Chargers. It says they need a receiver. Last time they still have Williams and Allen, correct?
Yeah, which is weird. I don't know why.
So they have a great 1-2 punch. I mean, of course, 30 receivers is not a bad idea ever, but I don't know if that's actually the truth. I think they probably, in my opinion, of watching their games last season, I think they probably need more offensive line, if anything.
Yeah, they need more than they receiver.
But so now we have Neal here. Do we both agree that Neal's here at this point? Do they take Neal?
Yeah,
I had them taking Penning. I had them taking Penning originally, but that's when Neal goes at 9. If Neal falls to 17, I think they would be like, lock him in as a right tackle.
Tom Telesco will literally sprint to Roger Goodell and stuff Tom Telesco will announce the fucking pick himself.
So basically, based on our draft right now, the most ridiculous thing is him dropping that far, correct? From both of your guys' accounts, you say 1-5, 1-9. Is that right? Both of your guys.
And I had Cross falling to 17 just because I think offensive line. There's so many bigger needs for other teams rather than offensive line, that one of those guys is bound to fall. I had Neal. Like, it depends on what New York does. If
the health concern is there, he could be one that falls draft night. That's 100%. If it's just, this will probably be the most watched NFL draft that I've ever done in my life with you guys. And we'll do a recap special of after the draft of like biggest surprises and stuff. Who was right? Who was wrong? Next, so New Orleans. Not New Orleans. Philadelphia is now back on the clock. They traded with New Orleans here. They're at 18. So Garrett Wilson now. Dean's there. You still don't think Dean goes, correct, Lucas, on this pick? So who do they take in 18?
So we had him take what? Johnson at 15? Is that correct?
We made them take Johnson.
Okay, so I had Johnson at 18 originally because I had McDuffie at 15. Man, this is not the place they want to be because the receivers are off the board, the corners are off the board. They got edge, so that's good.
Because they need a receiver. Am I crazy?
They do. They definitely need a receiver.
They say there's like they don't.
But I think it's also a situation where I think that there's some receivers in round 2 that I think could suit them really, really well, rather than trying to get like a wide receiver 1 when they already have Devontae.
Yeah, so I think if this was how the board showed up, I think they would take Daxton Hill, the safety cornerback. He's a slot corner, free safety hybrid out of Michigan. Really good cover guy. They can't get the corner they wanted at this point, but they can get somebody who can definitely help them on the back end and stop teams from throwing over the top of them. I think they take Daxton Hill at 18.
Daxton Hill. And what position? Just make sure.
He's going to lift up. I think they have him listed under a corner.
Okay. And Scully, while I'm looking that up.
I think this is way too high to be taking Daxton Hill. Daxton Hill's the guy who might go in, who I have going in last 7 ish picks of round one. You take Jermaine Johnson, great. Is Nakobe Dean still there? Cool. You take Nakobe Dean. You get your linebacker. Linebackers, they're their most pressing need. He fills all the requirements there at linebacker. He is the most complete linebacker prospect in this draft. You take him. You take him to the bank. Howie Roseman runs the field, plants a kiss on Roger Goodell's cheek, and hands him the envelope. End of story.
So that'll be the thing to watch draft night. Lucas has him in the second round. Scully has the Philadelphia Eagles at some point taking Dean.
Yeah.
Let's wait. Okay. By the way, Lloyd's there. I don't really familiar, but he's technically ranked higher. So we'll talk about that.
They would definitely take Lloyd over Dean. I feel pretty confident.
We'll see.
Well, fun. Is the bias of Georgia coming out on Scully?
I like Lloyd a lot. I just think Dean is Dean is so explosive and does so many different things in his game that it's hard for me to be like, yeah, Lloyd's better.
As much as I've talked to me and Scully work on this, it's 100% some bias just show up. Like Yankees are scumbags. I say it all the time.
Guys.
So New Orleans, this seems like New Orleans and Philly are just over. Here's the spots where they taken, who they go next. We gave them a wide receiver, so it looks like tackle or quarterback is left on their board. Who else do they take?
Yeah, Desmond Ridder, come on down.
Yeah, I concur. Take Ridder.
Yeah, Ridder's a guy who I watched a lot of stuff on recently, and I like him more and more the more I watch him. I admittedly didn't watch a whole lot of his game this past year, just because I didn't think that I thought of him as like an afterthought. I didn't think he was all that great, but he sees the field really well. He's got good vision. He makes the smart plays. He's got a high football IQ, especially for an organization like the Saints that needs a mentality like that consistently throughout the season, rather than crab legs out here throwing 30 and 30. Even though he did have cataract surgery, and hopefully the eyesight's fixed.
Who do I go where?
QB Desmond Ridder.
Desmond Ridder. And Ridder goes a little bit higher than I think he should, but because it's the Saints who need a quarterback, I think this is where they take him.
Look at that shit. Like fucking nobody. Okay. Not saying he's gonna be bad. I'm just saying. Like,
he was all right against Alabama. Like
you remember Blake Bortles? Yeah, I remember Blake Bortles. Played fucking nobody either. Got drafted really high. Fucking ass.
Yeah, Blake Bortles sucks. So
they just signed Jameis Winston. Why are they drafting him? I don't know. Whatever. To make it maybe.
Would you trust Jameis Winston as your franchise quarterback?
Yes. Yeah. At least for another year. The dude's threw 30 and 30. Like, he's been thrown out of the bus. He got LASIK eye surgery. His eye vision could be better. He tore his ACL. Shit happens. All right. Thanks for moving that along quickly. Texans, they need everybody. Who do they think?
Yeah, I'll make this even easier and I'll speed this up. And I'll say, look at that board right there. You got those top two guys. Those guys are going to go 20 and 21 in that order.
I actually agree.
Perfect.
I think if Karlaftis is there, because like I have him taking Johnson at edge. If Karlaftis is there, they'll take him.
So easily. Just that, right?
Yeah. And for the Patriots, they need linebacker. Devin Lloyd, I think, is a perfect fit for Bill Belichick's scheme.
All right.
Like that is such a perfect marriage of styles. It's not even funny.
So next up, we're getting closer to the thing. We're going to start speeding through this a little bit quicker. Packers, they need a wide receiver or an offensive lineman at this point.
I got one for them. They take Chris Olave, Ohio State wide receiver.
I agree. Olave it's such an easy pick.
What an easy you don't get to be a receiver and then go to the best quarterback, like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And like that's nuts. Like it's his happy day. Like that would be crazy for him. He'll make him better too. Overall, I think he'll be like he'll have a great day.
Aaron Rodgers is going to be grooming him from day one.
I can't wait to see Green Bay. I'm gonna probably do a watch along at some point of a football game and watch Aaron Rodgers just tell Chicago that he owns them one more time. That's still one of my favorite clips from last year.
I hate my life.
Bad guy. Don't draft bad quarterbacks. All right, Scully, Arizona. They're sticking with Kyler. Well, he's their guy. Apparently, in the NFL, you can just now quarterbacks just leave. When I was younger, quarterbacks just stayed where they were. No one really traded and moved around as much as they're moving now. So right now, they need offensive line, and they need somebody that's going to be there for them through November and January, because that's when that team dies. Who is this person that they drafted?
This is an easy pick. It's Tyler Linderbaum from Iowa. And I'm really irritated, like personally, that like he's not higher on the draft boards, and that he won't go higher because he should go higher. I mean, I look at this guy and I think, oh my God, it's Quentin Nelson all over again. And you saw how Quentin Nelson was in 2018 coming out of Notre Dame, one of the best offensive line prospects ever. I think Linderbaum is right up there with him. He is an absolute punisher of defensive lines. Allowed 3 pressures in the last couple seasons, just 3 in all. And I think putting him on, he's going to make an instant impact. Kyler's going to love him. Kyler's going to buy him a fucking Lamborghini, probably, because he's going to be the reason why Kyler isn't being chased out of the pockets so many times. That is a need. He's literally the first name on your screen.
No, I know. No, I just looked real quick. Where's your Bears? Why are they drafted in the first round? What happened? Who they traded away?
You know why.
Okay, just curious. Lucas, do you agree?
So I like Linderbaum. He's a little undersized. He's less than 40th percentile in all physical categories.
That man doesn't have a neck. What are you talking about?
He's an offensive lineman. They're not supposed to have necks.
I know. That's literally my coach in football was like, get no neck. So you could be an
offensive lineman. We can't all be Lucas, Cody.
That's true. Them traps.
I know, it's stupid. I would take an offensive lineman, but I would take Zion Johnson, the guard center from Boston College. I think he has more versatility. I think he fits physically in more positions, and I think that they don't want to tie themselves into having to start somebody at center right away. And I think that's why I take Zion Johnson.
Now, Cody, what if I told you that Linderbaum also wrestled and played baseball?
Ooh, yeah, you're gonna go. I'm gonna side with him. That's it. No neck, boy. I trust people from Iowa. They move things, and they're stupid. So you point at something and tell them what to do, they'll do it.
This is true.
I disagree.
I've tried this before.
Cowboys, what a garbage organization. Can we all agree? Let's just agree there. Garbage organization.
Bad guys all around.
Bad guys. America's team, my ass. Lucas stepped away for a second, so you're going to lead with this first. Who do you think is the Cowboys pick? Because I saw they were going to take Linderbaum. So do they take Zion Johnson?
No, because I think that they go defense. I think they go with Lewis Cine from Georgia. Safety guy, really, really versatile guy. Only allowed
Are you just paid by Georgia? Is that what we're doing here?
Possibly. I am wearing red, although not because of Georgia, but because this draft's gonna be an absolute bloodbath. But he definitely fits what this defense is looking for. I think Dallas really needs to focus on allowing less deep shots down the field. I think Cine can really, really help out with that. Also provide more depth to that secondary, because this is a defense that is relying on Micah Parsons and Micah Parsons alone for production. Randy Gregory left. He took his bag of pot and he went to Denver. So your defensive production from the front seven is going to be a little bit decreased from this past year. So what do? You take the best safety. The second best safety in this draft in Lewis Cine, beef up the secondary, and then you worry about offensive line in round 2.
But it tells me right now, offensive line, defensive line, and linebacker, not a safety. So why are they going safety here?
They're going safety because they need secondary help. Why are you taking linebacker in round 1 2 years in a row? That doesn't make any sense.
Because it paid
doesn't
off.
Make any sense. You can sacrifice a little bit of pressure in the quarterback as long as you have guys in the secondary who are able to make sure the ball's not caught by the receiver. That's the object of defense. Make sure the ball's not caught by the receiver.
Give a second for Lucas. If he doesn't show back up, I'm going to have to just take Lewis' scene. Oh. Now he's under interrogation.
I think we're in his therapist's office now.
He did
Sorry,
something.
gentlemen. Just had to move slightly.
You're fine.
So I would have them take. I originally had them taking my personal mock draft, Traylon Burks, the wide receiver from Arkansas, who seems to be a weird Jerry pick. But since he's available, I'd have them take Trevor Penning, offensive tackle, Northern Iowa, put that nastiness at the right tackle, and have him replace what they lost.
So you're saying offensive line?
Yeah, I would take Trevor Penning, offensive tackle from Northern Iowa.
Northern Iowa. Now there's a bunch of bad guys.
So I sided with you. I'm going to side with him here. I think offense makes more sense than that overall.
They already have a good offense. They just need, fucking stop the pass game.
Buffalo needs another wide receiver, apparently. I don't know who that one guy was in the Chiefs game that caught like 4 touchdowns. I think that's a pretty good receiver. They might have just want to target him more. Stephon Diggs. And then, so where do we line here? I think we got a sorts, but we'll let Lucas kick off with this one since you picked the Cowboys.
I think just you have a team that has a really talented roster and doesn't necessarily have a ton of needs. I think they take Breece Hall, the running back from Iowa State. Just give them a true nasty player in the backfield that they just don't have right now. And they don't there's not really a great receiver or corner on the board or anything right now. They just take the value. They take the luxury pick of the halfback.
So taking a running back in round 1, that hasn't worked in a while. But you know what does work? A punishing run stopper by the name of Devontae Wyatt, also from Georgia. Honestly, a toss-up between him and Davis as to who could be better. I know, Cody. I know you're kidding.
Who was the running back Lucas said?
Breece Hall. He's the second guy on your screen.
Okay.
But seriously, Buffalo needs more run stop. The reason they lost against Mahomes in the playoff game, they could not get to him fast enough. You need guys like Devontae Wyatt who is able to run through that offensive line, make them their bitch, and then sack the QB. You need that more than you need. And you can get a good running back in round 2. You can get Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker. You can get whoever the hell you want in round 2 in terms of a running back. Because not that many teams are going to be looking for running backs in this draft. You got maybe 2 or 3 that are really going to be eyeing them in round 2. The rest are going to wait later to get guys in the 4th or 5th round. But what you need is a run and pass stopper in Devontae Wyatt, who is going to beef up the defensive line, add more depth, and make your defense more well-rounded and even deadlier than it was last season when it was number 1 in the
You
whole
need
league.
help. I'll just say this. You need help. Your Georgia bias is way too strong today. It is heavy.
Who, Cody? I want you to tell me who the best overall player left on the board is.
Where's the kickers located?
Devontae Wyatt.
Oh, right. It says that, but overall,
And you go with best overall at this point.
We let Neil go all the way to 17. Like, don't say drops don't happen. Well, here's the thing. Somebody help me out here because I don't use this thing. This is the first time I've used it. But when I go to running back and I click on this guy and I go right here, 32% also believe that he's going to the Bills. Nobody believes Wyatt's going to the Bills. So maybe Wyatt's dropping too far. Maybe Wyatt gets picked up by somebody else. Like, Lucas, why did you stay away from Wyatt throughout this draft so far that Wyatt's not going on your list?
I have Wyatt going a couple picks later. He's very old. He's like 24. So that's a concern for some teams. There's also some off the field stuff.
That is the thing.
It's kind of bad. It seems to be behind him, but it's definitely causing some teams concern.
He's got hair on his peaches.
I think he's a better player. I think he's a better player than Hall, but I think they take Hall because they specifically want to bulk up running back.
But you can get him whatever.
Lucas can Scully can do the famous thing of laughing at me because now if the Raptors beat the 76ers, he can be like, I called
If the
that.
Raptors beat the Sixers and Brees Hall gets drafted in the second round, I'm gonna have a field day.
You can. Overall, next up, Tennessee Titans wide receiver. Julio Jones didn't work out. Sucks. Who they take here? We'll go Scully.
They take Traylon Burks. I think this is a really good fit in what Tennessee is trying to do. Ryan Tannehill at this point is on life support in terms of his career with Tennessee. I think there's a slight chance they go quarterback, but I think at the end of the day, they need receiver. They need somebody alongside AJ Brown who can catch the ball. Somebody that's not going to have one good game on fantasy, then everyone pick them up on waivers, and then have no production for the rest of the season, because that's how Tennessee's wide receivers normally go. You need weapons. You need people who can be able to get the football other than Derrick Henry, because Henry was out for the majority of last year, and you need to keep up that production if he gets injured, if and when he gets injured again next season or the season after. So
We're
I think
positive here on this podcast, Scully. Jeez, no injuries here.
Traylon Burks is
Traylon Burks,
big body
Lucas,
guy. Yeah.
Who you got?
I've got Tyler Smith, the offensive tackle from Tulsa. He's super young. He's 21 years old. He had more big-time blocks last year than Aquano or Neal. He is raw, but he's a freakish run blocker. And my biggest concern is Traylon Burks doesn't run routes. He runs out of the slot as a 6'2 guy. He has weight concerns as a wide receiver. I don't want a wide receiver who blows up 30 pounds in the season. That seems like a bad sign to me. I don't know if he's ever going to be anything more than a screen guy and throw him or reverse. I genuinely don't know if he's going to be much more than that. I like Smith more. I don't think I'd have Burks in my first round if it wasn't for the weird Jerry Jones picks I've been predicting.
Cody, what if I told you Burks also played baseball?
Cody, he hunts pigs with his bare hands.
Okay, so what I would just let everybody know, we're getting close to the thing. So what we will do is either if we have time between the two of them to record round two, we will. But if we don't, we'll do a discussion of like different stuff later. But we'll finish out our round one of this draft and see where we go after draft night. But if we do round two, we'll be up before round two happens. Next up, we are going to take the Buccaneers. So basically lost some offensive line help. Brady decided to come back. Bruce Arians, I think got moved up to the top because Tom didn't want to be managed by that psychopath anymore. That's my belief. I don't know if that's true, but there were some reports come out that he's a little bit crazy. So they need some offensive line. They also need some defense. So Scully, who do they take?
I think they definitely go offensive line, and they go with who I think is the best guard in this draft. It's Kenyon Green from Texas A&M. This is a guy who not only has insane versatility on the line, but he is also, throughout his career at A&M, he played every single offensive line position except for center. So wherever Tampa Bay needs him to line up at any point during the season, he will line up there and get good production. Your goal in 2022 has to be protect the 45-year-old you have throwing the ball, and you need versatile linemen who are able to play more than one position, rather than just be rigid and only available to play one position, because that's kind of how offensive line is getting now. Multiple guys playing multiple positions on the line, especially with his versatility and the way he's able to move with the run stoppers.
Who did you say again?
I think Tampa's going to jump at the opportunity to take him.
Who'd you say?
Kenyon Green. He's a guard.
Okay. Go ahead and tell me who they take, Lucas.
IOL. Go IOL.
Okay.
So in my personal mock, I had them taking Lewis, the safety from Georgia. But I think if Zion Johnson's on the board, they will definitely take Zion Johnson, and they will take him ahead of Kenyon Green. And one of the biggest reasons is Green has good college tape, but his measurables and his testing is atrocious. He ran a 5.24 at a guard. Guards need to be fast. You can't pull if you got a 5.24. He was really bad, like under the 30th percentile on most of his testing things. And I think that Zion Johnson is just a better prospect, can play guard, center, and tackle, is this versatile, and is just better. I think if Johnson's available, he's not available in my personal mock, but if he falls to 27, I think they jump Zion Johnson.
I'll go Zion with him being there.
Hey, guys named Zion who've been drafted in the first round don't have that good of a history. I'm just saying.
How many is that? One? In a different sport?
Once you've seen one.
You're dramatic. Good Lord. If we do everybody drafted in the first round, I don't think the name David is ever getting drafted again. All right, so we got 5 more picks. Green Bay is now back on the clock. So they hit with a wide receiver earlier. I think they go – I guess they have to go offensive line, but maybe they don't. Scully, your rivals, your favorite team, I'm going to buy you a Rodgers jersey.
Please don't.
Who do they take?
Yeah, you have to go offensive lineman or Aaron Rodgers will set Brian.
They have 2 draft picks in the first round, and Bears have none. That's crazy.
Because they fucking traded Devontae, that's why. But they'll take Bernard Raymond, the tackle from Central Michigan. This is a guy who kind of has been like all over the place in terms of like draft position. I think he has a legit shot to like crack the top 20. Possibly, if both Cross and Neal end up going before LA could easily come up, take him right there.
Why is pancakes not something here so I can measure in syrup bottles? That's disrespectful.
But yeah, he doesn't allow pressures often. He does not let anyone get to his guy, especially with Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, you're gonna need that. This is the best overall tackle offensive lineman left on the board. And I think this is just a no-brainer for Green Bay.
Lucas disagrees 100%. I've seen that face for way too long in this friendship of ours.
His name is also Bernhard, so he sounds like a Wisconsinite already.
No, I like Bernard Ryman. I think he's a little bit more of a day 2 guy. He's almost 25. He's really old. And I think that they would like offensive tackle. I don't think offensive tackle is the best pick.
And Rodgers is 40.
I think they're taking Devontae Wyatt right here. I think they're taking that penetrating defensive tackle right here at 28. And then they can get the 2 guys that go exactly as this matches up with my mock. I have them taking Olave and Wyatt. I think they would be incredibly happy. The thing we know is that the Packers are not going to draft specifically to help Rodgers. They're going to draft who they think are the best players and the best fits for their scheme. And I think
they also have a guy waiting in Jordan Love who is like a deer in the headlights.
They don't believe in him anymore. We all know. With that extension,
he's a deer in the headlights. So what are they going to do? They're going to draft as many offensive linemen as possible so that he actually feels comfortable in the fucking pocket.
They gave him 4 years. He is no longer the plan. Jordan Love is no longer the plan. If they gave him 4 years, he is no longer the plan in Green Bay. They knew when he threw the way he did to keep him. And Brady changed everything. Brady changed everything. Where quarterbacks can go out so early is no longer the case anymore. I think they know they have Rodgers they could at least have Rodgers for probably 4 to 6 more years now in days in football. So I have him versus who?
Bernhard Raymond. You have Wyatt and literally the top 2 guys on the board.
Oh crap. I went with Zion. Do I piss off Scully again? I kind of like to piss off Scully because I would love. I'm going to do it. I'm going to put the Georgia guy on Green Bay just for shits and grins. That you literally have to watch your guy literally go.
I mean, I think it's a good pick for Green Bay, but I think the smarter play is going with the offensive line.
Yeah, I don't disagree. But I mean, what would you rather live for? Telling me I'm wrong because I sided with somebody else, or like being right? Like that's just gross. You want to be right, but you want to be right without me agreeing with you. You want to rub it in my face. Chiefs go back to back here. Lost the speed threat. Lost it. Reed says his offense will not change anything with Hill not being there. Do we agree? I don't believe so. I think that is a massive, massive undertaking of Hill not being in that lineup. Who do they take here? Is it Sky Moore? Did they take Sky Moore? I'm just curious. You guys, I'm going to start with Scully here. Who did the Kansas City Chiefs take?
George Pickens. And this is the guy who
Another
I think
Georgia guy?
no, but seriously, this is the guy who I think they've had their eye on for a while now as a potential Tyreek replacement. This is a guy who, before his ACL tear, like if he hadn't torn his ACL, this guy would be a top 7, top 5 pick easily. He has so much potential and so much ability at that position, not just speed, but to create separation. He's got phenomenal hands. He's a really good route runner, and he just had bad luck with the injury in the ACL, trying to come back with it. He fucking tore up Cincinnati in the Peach Bowl a couple years ago. Did really well in coming back from his injury, getting a lot of good catches down the stretch for that season. And I think that he's going to do really well in Kansas City. He is very aggressive, very much like matching up what Mahomes likes to do. Him throwing the ball and Pickens catching it, Kansas City fans aren't going to know what to do with themselves.
They just had Hill. Is that going to be that exciting? They just had Hill. Lucas, you seem like, again, you disagree with Thomas Scully.
I love Pickens as a player. All the reports are coming out is that he has been interviewing atrociously, that he has a lot of red flags, a lot of maturity concerns. And I actually don't think the Chiefs are going to go wide receiver with either of these picks. I think they're going to go cornerback Andrew Booth, 29, because they need help on defense. And I think for 30, they're going to take the luxury pick. And they're going to take David Ojagbo, the injured Michigan outside linebacker, defensive edge prospect. And they're going to stash him on their team while he recovers from the edge, while he recovers from ACL surgery. And they're going to have an extra year of control over him by taking him at 30.
I forget, was Daxon Hill already picked by somebody in this mock?
No, I suggested it before.
Hill is who I have the Chiefs going with at 30. I think he's a good fit in there. He can play both corner and safety whenever he needs to. Another really versatile guy, like what you said. And I think he's more of the safe, secure pick. Pickens is more the wild card. But I think if it pays off, it'll pay dividends. And also, honestly, best thing for attitude, stick his ass in Kansas. He has nothing to fucking do there.
So, question for Lucas, because you'll be the decider. I went with Pickens. I just chose Scully on that one. I just to see if he's right or wrong. Basically, so Booth is who you'd say they'd go with.
It's Booth or Daxon.
Well, would you go Daxon Hill over Booth if he was still on the board? Because you had him going earlier.
Well, so Hill is one of the classic players in this class where if there's no cornerback available for the Eagles at 18, I'd consider Hill. But in my own personal mock, I had Hill going 32. So I think they would take Booth. I think he's just a little bit better, more capable of being an outside cover corner. I think Hill could be a really good middle field safety slot guy, but I don't think he'll ever play outside. I think they want outside him.
And my thing is, with also the departure of Tyrann Mathieu, they need some safety help. And Hill can also play some snaps at safety while they try to find a long-term solution at safety, whether it be this year or the year after.
Okay, so our last two picks, just quickly, do we think that if he's on the board, do they go here, the Bengals?
I think they go Scene. If this is the board of it.
They go who? Scene? They go defense?
The safety. I think they're going to go defense. Yeah. Unless Linderbaum's there. If Linderbaum falls, which is what I had in my
Because didn't they literally overhaul their entire offensive line this offseason?
They already brought in multiple people. I think
they overhauled the line.
Elite level player. I don't think they're going to do it again.
Because I think they brought in two potential or Pro Bowlers, I believe, if I'm correct on that. I'm not sure. So what do you say Scene as well? Would you go Scene here, or who would you go, Scully?
I would honestly go Hill just because yes, you want to be able to provide Bates with a little bit more depth at safety, but also you want to. I think like he can play snaps at safety and corner. When you have a guy like that, you kind of have a guy who's like, all right, we need to just stick you on defense where we need to stick you, and we need you to be able to produce
So
at both positions. So I personally go Hill, but I
who
think
would you have the
Steele's
Lions selecting then?
me. Oh, I have the Lions taking Jahan Dotson, the wide receiver from Penn State.
Defense versus that. That's all in it then. I'll go Scene here. And then I'll go wide receiver. Who do you have?
Jahan Dotson.
Okay. So
really solid slot guy.
So here's what's going to basically happen. So if we're able to meet back up, who knows? If me and Scully are able to just meet, I don't know. What we'll end up doing is talk about round 2 when we have round 2. But this is our overall draft. But we think combined of the people, I didn't know how crazy, like how different you guys would be. You're very different, which makes this way better for me, especially on draft night because I will be talking to both of you live as it's happening. So basically, if you were to look at our mock draft, both of you, one takeaway, one surprise, one like that shouldn't have happened. What is that takeaway?
My takeaway is that either Charles Cross or Evan Neal is going to fall because, like I said earlier, offensive line isn't going to be as big a priority in this draft as in drafts past. So while those two guys are insanely talented, one of those guys is going to fall on draft night a little bit, and the Chargers are going to have a massive early Christmas gift fall into their laps. Can we scroll down a bit?
Yeah.
Just through the mock. Yeah, I think guys like I think Zion Johnson and Andrew Booth are a little high. I don't have them as first rounders personally. Breece Hall, I think, is way too high. I don't think that any running back is going in the first round. I think all running backs are being saved until like the mid to late second round. The Bills could literally pick somebody else, and Breece Hall could still be there when they have their pick in round 2. That's just my personal takeaway. So yeah,
Lucas, what are your takeaway?
So I think the first thing I noticed was I think Hill, Ojabo, Smith, Hall. Did Johnson fall in the first round? I think maybe like 5 of my guys fell out. Yeah, maybe. I think the biggest thing I would notice is I think that wide receiver is going to fall after the big major tier happens. I just think the values run 2, and I think the biggest difference between me and Scully is I think linebacker really going to fall. I think there's going to be one round 1. That's all it's going to be. I think round 2 first definitely happens. I think this draft is really just defined by runs, like how much of a run we get at quarterback, how much of a run we get at receiver. And you can see if one player falls, that stops runs from happening and changes dramatically how this draft happens. And trust me, there will be a pick in the top 15 where that player will be outside the top 50 on maybe many draft boards. There's going to be something that happens because so many teams are going to look at it and be like, there's no difference between 10 and 60. So we feel really positive about 45, and they're going to take it to the top 50.
So, and the last thing I will say, just one team quick. Who do you believe will screw up draft night? Who will not do what the team needs the most and make like a ridiculous choice? If you had to put one down.
I mean, it's kind of a given at this point. It's the Carolina Panthers. I mean, management is so desperate to make a move at this point that they are going to have to settle for a quarterback, and they're not going to address any of the other pressing matters that their team needs. They're not going to address anything on defense. They're not going to address anything on the offensive line. They're not going to address anything else in particular that needs a lot more assistants, but they're going to go with a quarterback because they need answers. Otherwise, ownership is going to fire them all before they leave the draft room.
That's fair. Lucas?
It makes sense to be Carolina, but I feel like they also don't have another choice. When you have pick 6 and then pick like 134, you don't have an option to pick a quarterback in the second or third round. Like, what would be rational? So I think that stuff. I think the team that could fuck it up is the Seahawks at 9. They have a history of making some weird predictions. They have a history of not really understanding the value of the board, picking somebody who's 60 spots higher. I think they could definitely do that. And grab somebody who's at 45, take Bernard Raymond at 9 or something silly, or get a safety, or pick some weird outlier who has Daniel Falele at 9 or something silly like that, who's just like a huge monster human being, but clearly not high enough to be worth at that point.
Yeah, so interesting. Again, hopefully next year I'll be able to predict with these guys as much as they do, but this is way more insightful. Again, hopefully we get together for round 2. I'd like it. I had a lot of fun with this episode. If not, we will do like us two, those two and me. We'll have a shared Google Doc maybe of all the picks and see who's right or wrong. As it goes down, it'll be a lot of fun to see who's right and who's not. We'll do a recap draft special with probably Lucas, if I can get Lucas back, just to see. And then, again, coming up on the channel, we will have basically a prediction for each team, pros, cons, short episodes, but pros and cons of each team and where we think they're going to finish out the season. And then we'll have an overall predictions before the season starts itself. And we might do college football stuff. So, yeah, check out Draft Night. It'll be interesting. Me and Scully will be live tweeting from the Twitter account of, like, what the hell is happening. And I'll be just, enjoying Scully's rage when not all Georgia players go in the first round. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.